Their action to go ahead and 6.1 call to order. The Board of Trustees are hereby reconvening the open session at 5:34 p.m. 6.2 roll call. Trustees identify themselves by first and last name to formally establish quorum. Dana Ridlin, Trustee Area 2.
Scott Kraft, Trustee Area 4.
Cindy Gardner, Trustee Area 3.
Jordan Zarate, Trustee Area 5, Running Spring, Bear Lake, Green Valley.
Dr. William Mellinger, Trustee Area 1.
6.3 Pledge of Allegiance. Mrs. Armelini, will you please lead us?
Stand right hand on your heart. Ready, begin.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Seven point zero closed session report. 7.1 announcement of reportable actions taken during closed session. There were none. 8.0 public testimony. 8.1 public comment period for items listed on this agenda and non-agenda items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the governing board. The public comment period is administered by state law and is the point in the meeting set aside for members of the public to share their opinions with the board. Open meeting laws do not permit the board to engage in dialogue or answer questions. Though it may not take action on non-agenda issues raised at the public comment period, the board, for example, may refer any matter to the superintendent for review or take action to direct staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. No person is granted any privilege by the governing board to make statements which may be considered defamatory or otherwise actionable by other persons, including district officers and employees. Protocols for speakers. Any person who wishes to address the governing board on agenda and non-agenda items within the subject matter of their jurisdiction must complete a speaker's form and submit it to the executive secretary to the superintendent before the meeting is called to order. Individual speakers are allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda item. The board limits the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. Speakers who have complaints against board members or staff are encouraged to seek resolution to those complaints by using the Rim of the World Unified School District written complaint procedure rather than orally addressing them at a meeting. The board will not respond to such complaints until the applicable complaint procedure BP/AR 1312.1 has been followed and has reached the board level. Where a complaint concerns a district employee identifiable by name, position, or other facts, the board cannot respond until proper written notice has been given to the employee pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. The quorum. The governing board is interested in the ideas and opinions of all stakeholders and endeavors to incorporate community views into its deliberations and decisions. At the same time, it must be able to conduct its business in an organized and efficient manner, free from material disruption. Therefore, in accordance with Board Bylaw 9323 and Government Code Section 54957.9, audience members may not disrupt, disturb, or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of this meeting. Open meeting laws do not confer any privilege or protection for expression beyond that otherwise provided by law. The public's understanding and cooperation are appreciated. So 8.2, with that said, I'd like to ask Carla Vitti to come up. And I lost your sheet. Hold on just a sec. Thanks, Scott. So Carla Vitti, representing special education, topic, potential reduction. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, good afternoon, school board members.
Can you please actually hit the button so the red light comes on and then the speaker
Right here on the bottom.
microphone, so
On the bottom.
there you go.
Ready? Okay, thank you. I would like to express a concern shared by my colleague, Mr. Gerardo. I know some of you have received a letter from him regarding potential reductions in elective course options for our students in moderate to severe special education program. These potential reductions will impact elective classes that have consistently provided inclusive, meaningful learning experiences for our students. Electives such as leadership, drama, choir, etc. offer far more than just curriculum content. These environments are inherently more flexible, accepting, and conducive to our students' diverse needs. For example, students who are nonverbal but make vocalizations are accepted and supported without stigma. The structure of these courses often allows for creative expression, sensory engagement, and movement, which are vital to the students' development and well-being. Additionally, these elective classes foster vital peer interactions. Our students are given valuable opportunities to learn alongside their general education peers, forming connections that go both ways. These inclusive settings promote social growth, empathy, and understanding. Our students benefit tremendously from being surrounded by role models, and we've seen firsthand that limiting access to these courses not only narrows the educational experience for our students, but also risks isolating them further. As educators committed to inclusion, we must ensure that all students, regardless of ability, have access to environments that support their growth in the fullest sense. Some might suggest that students in our program can simply repeat the same limited electives year after year, but doing so strips them of opportunities for new learning, exploration, and joy. Restricting access to varied courses confines their growth and denies them the experiences that others take for granted. The benefits of inclusion go beyond academics. A few years ago, one of our students was crowned Homecoming King, voted by his general education peers. Recently, two were nominated for the prom court, where they were voted prom prince and princess. These aren't just feel-good stories, they're powerful examples of what inclusion looks like when it's done right. After all, EdCode does support inclusion of special needs students. It also emphasizes that all students, including those with disabilities, are first and foremost general education students, are they not? I strongly urge you to consider and expand elective opportunities for us moderate to severe students. I invite you to come and visit our classrooms, meet our students, witness the incredible potential that shines when they're given the chance to participate fully in the school community. Please let us work together to ensure that our most vulnerable students are not left behind. I need it. Thank you.
Thank you. So 8.3, Rent Teachers Association RTA representative, California School Employee Association CSEA representative. Do I have? Okay, Ms. McCook, if you can come up, I'd appreciate it.
Rather stay back. All right. First of all, I want to apologize for my colorful appearance. We did a wall mural today on the kindergarten and TK playground. It was very fun, but very, very messy, as you can imagine. All right, my name is Sydney McCook. I'm here to represent RTA today. I'm our secretary. All right, here we go. What a year it has been. We kicked things off with a wildfire in our backyard, followed by rolling power outages, emergency closures, and for dramatic effect, a hailstorm on Tuesday. At this point, we're not sure if we're in a school district or starring in a disaster movie. One thing is clear, normal packed its bags and left a long time ago. But here's the thing, the universe clearly underestimated us. We are RIM and we are RIM strong. You can't shake us, you can't break us, and you definitely can't outlast us. RTA is excited to officially welcome this coming school year's executive RTA board. Taking the helm is going to be Nick Nicholas as president, joined by Amanda Markovich as vice president. They just did a do-si-do. Gigi Dosey and I will continue in our roles as treasurer and secretary. We're confident this continuity will strengthen the respectful and productive relationship we've built with the district, while still holding firm when it comes to advocating for what our students and educators need. Speaking of advocacy, our last negotiation session took place yesterday. What a room full of talent. I am positive we can solve any problem that comes our way. We're hopeful next year brings less contention, and we hope both sides put working together to solve the problem and attacking the problem. We hope that's at the forefront. We hope that together we can make RIM the best it can be. But let's be clear, as a union, we are united, informed, and ready to stand up for our membership if the need arises. And speaking of needs, I'm a broken record, but let's talk about class size. We said it before and we'll keep saying it louder. Smaller class sizes change everything. Fewer students per classroom means more one-on-one support, stronger relationships, fewer behavior disruptions, and better outcomes for everyone. It's not magic, it's math. Um, thank you, pretty laugh. You want to boost test scores, lower class sizes. You want to retain great teachers, lower class sizes. You want to stop teachers from daydreaming about quitting mid-year, lower class sizes. But class sizes alone won't fix everything. We also need to talk about salary. We're losing good teachers and staff, not because they don't love the job, but because they simply can't afford to stay. Educators and staff are being poached by neighboring districts. We have one in the room, offering higher pay. And if we want to remain competitive and attract and retain quality professionals our students deserve, we need salaries that reflect the reality of today's economy and the demands of this profession, regardless of the way schools are funded. I have written many letters to state and country leaders. I encourage everyone else to do so as well. Teachers aren't asking for yachts or private jets. We're asking you to not have to work a second job, rely on stipends to pull a decent wage, or worry if they're one paycheck away from financial ruin. This is about professional respect and basic sustainability. And while we're on smart investments, let's use our PD days and our welcome back day wisely. Give us relevant, practical training that actually improves instruction. Let teachers lead. Let collaboration be authentic, not performative. And I wanted to thank Jen Whiteside for collaborating with RTA this year and starting the discussion. In closing, here's the bottom line. If we want real progress, if we want our schools to be places where kids flourish and educators stay, we need to prioritize class size reduction, raise salaries to remain competitive, and make thoughtful use of our time and resources. Now, to end this on a fun note, I want to remind us all in this room why we're all here, the students. And what better way than with a couple vignettes of the TK and kindergarten world. Let me just drink over it. All right, this story comes from Mrs. Dosey. So after a recess, a little boy comes up to her and says, "Another child called me the E word." She racks her brain thinking, what is he talking about? E word, what? She asked him to whisper the word into her ear, but instead, very loudly wailed, "He called me an idiot." All right. Oh, good. My husband didn't laugh that hard. Good job, guys. All right. A story from my classroom. So some of you might not be aware, but TKs believe teachers actually live at the school and that we don't have jobs. So I'm going to set the stage. My son was in my class. His name's Charles, and we were having a circle time discussion about our best thing that happened over winter break. So one child, who's brighter than most, looks at me, looks at my son Charles, looks at me, looks at Charles. He, with a very worried and confused face, he asks, "So does Santa come here and leave presents for Charles? Because I noticed that you don't actually have a chimney here." Another story from Miss Endeman's class. So they're doing a crab-shaped hat craft, and they can make it have any expression they want. So she walks over to a little girl whose crab is very sad, with tears running down its crabby face. And when she asked why the crab was sad, she said, "Well, the crab is all out of nacho cheese." And this one is from Mrs. Holly. So at a performance, I might cry. The first graders did this adorable performance for TK's kinders and their parents. And they were singing all these beautiful songs, and they're singing "How Sweet It Is to Be Loved by You." And this kiddo was Mrs. Holly's special friend. Very needs lots of love. And he loudly and sweetly points to her, tearing up, and he says, it sings just beautiful gusto, "I love you." And it was just so sweet. All right. I hope everyone out there has a great last 3 days of school where the Wi-Fi always works and the students always listen. I hope everyone has a wonderful and safe summer. I want to congratulate our graduating seniors on a job well done. I want to thank all teachers and staff that are retiring, and I plead that you take me with you just for a couple days. And I wish a quiet walkie-talkie for all the admins out there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So we did have a change in our agenda. So we did not have an 8.3 before, now we do. So 8.4, personal services, our retirement celebration. So this is an opportunity for us to recognize the wonderful service put together by our retirees. Let me go ahead and read this. We would like to honor all of the employees who have retired during the 2024, 2020. Oh, what was that? Oh, I did not, I'm so sorry. Is there a CSEA public, here to be able to speak for CSEA? I did not think I saw him. Okay, thank you for checking. Oh, okay, sorry, okay. So we're good? Okay, so I'm gonna repeat this. We would like to honor all of the employees who have retired during the 2024-2025 school year. Some retired months ago and others are still with us until the end of the year. Most of our retirees have notified us that unfortunately they could not make it tonight, but we would still like to recognize their dedication and service to the district. So I have a list here in no particular order. And I'm going to go ahead and read these names off. So Carrie Castillo, Risk Manager, District Office for 15 years of service. Tina West, teacher at MPH, 36 years of service. Mario Luna, bus driver for maintenance, operations and transportation, 6 years of service. Shane McClelland, grounds, 10 years of service. John Williford, campus security for 4 years of service. Ellen Monica Ortega, teacher at CHE for 10 years of service. And Mrs. Armelini is here. Shelley Armelini, teacher at CHE, 26 years of service. Pete Ferrara, CTE teacher, RHS, 25 years of service. Rowena Moreno, teacher, MPH, 25 years of service. Timothy Grossman, bus driver at the MOT as well, 8 years of service. Also here is Judy Purinton, instructional assistant, special ed, MPH, 29 years of service. And then Sharon Damon, instructional assistant, SPED, MPH, 29 years of service. So I would like us to take actually, Shannon, if you want to go ahead and speak a little bit.
Yeah, thank you. Before we get started, Mr. Gomes would like to come up and say a couple things about his MPH retirees, and we can have you come on up and I'll get you. And then Ms. Armelini, I'm going to say a couple words about you after that. And Ms. Roque.
Where do you want me? Come up right in front, I'll grab the box. It's all my kids will be on TV.
Microphone, you're listening to this over and it's not very,
Yeah.
you just do that right there.
Well, Sharon, you are on this side of my papers. We're gonna start with you. We're gonna close together as a whole. You've had an incredible impact on student and your consistent presence of students and your consistent presence of support for student success has been impactful to thousands of students over your 29 years. You have helped shape and mold young people to be successful students. Your kind words and helping hands have empowered students and helped them find their voice. And you have positive relationships among staff, and it is a pleasure to watch you just circle campus and be friendly with everybody. Side note, when Sharon decided to tell me she was retiring, she came to my office, sat down very seriously. She said, "Terry, I'm retiring. The campus is very dirty."
You remember that?
Yes, I do. And I went and told people to make it cleaner. Thank you. It's all for students. It was for the best for kids, as you always do. So, one thing about Karen, I just met her husband for the first time yesterday. I don't want to relay any private information, but Sharon, for the last couple of years, had some serious worries on her hand. And Perry, I want you to know that your wife held it down at MPH and didn't bring all that to work. We're very proud of her. Mrs. Harrington, thank you for all your time spent at MPH. I'm gonna stand up real quick and get the sword. Here you go.
Use the other.
I'll look it up,
You have been a steady and.
I can't, it is as tight as it.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm tired.
Terry, you want to use this? Terry, you want to use this one?
Yeah.
We'll sit down. Thanks, Mike.
No. You have been a a rock in MPH, a steady and a consistent presence. And you have been so willing to take on different assignments, from inclusion to emotionally disabled to all the classes. You've been there for all of our kids, and you've been there for the thick and thin with all of our students. And you have helped shape and mold young people's lives. And you created a culture of care and respect. As somebody who works at the school, as a family member, you won't want to be risked by all the students and faculty. I know there's somebody in the audience that may quite very possibly miss being there with you as well. You've had a positive impact on thousands of students as well in your 29 years. Her commitment to the job was evident last year in the 23-24 school year. Towards the end of the year, she says, "Hey, I'm gonna be retiring, but I want to go on a vacation. Will you approve that?" And yes, it was pretty approved. That vacation didn't work out, however. Both Sharon and Judy on behalf of the entire school community, thank you both for your unwavering dedication and your generous heart and the legacy you leave behind. You will always be part of our story. Congratulations on both your retirements.
I'll go over here. Oh, you guys can't be there.
No, you can't go.
Oh.
There are years. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Ms. Shelley Armelini, this is from your colleagues. Yes, 26 years in a RIM, an amazing teacher that teaches students to be the absolute best at everything. She cares immensely about standards and making sure students are given the highest standards to meet. And she does just that. The students are held to responsibility, kindness, and making sure the high expectations she requires are met. She has given timelessly, time, effort, and again, getting them ready for the structured future. Yay, Shelley, happy retirement. She did come, you worked at LAE, Grandview, and CHE. One more thing that I wanted to share with you, she has love for students at LAE and Grandview since 2015. You've been at CHE since 2015. She has planted a garden in all of our lives, including an incredible child-centered garden at our school site. It has become part of the education each day, and the seeds they sow are leading to bigger things in the future. Congratulations and good luck to you.
You want to come up and take a picture? Come on up, take a picture. Take a picture of the retiree. We're gonna get a picture.
Here's my chaperone.
We're gonna stop.
Just stand behind me. Just stand back here.
Whatever you want to do.
Behind us, stand behind. It's not about us.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
So we're gonna take a 5-minute recess from the meeting. I do want to just mention that there was over 200 years of service that was listed among our retirees. Just wanted to throw that out there. It's quite incredible. But yeah, let's go ahead and take 5 minutes off. There's cupcakes and drinks in the back, so Let's go and celebrate our retirees. Hearing. Procedures for public hearing. Public hearings are required on specific items such as the local control accountability plan and budgets. Actually, before I move full steam ahead, Mark, are you okay with me moving ahead or jump? Okay. Do I need to start over? Okay. Persons who wish to address the governing board on a matter set for a public hearing must complete a speaker's form and submit it to the executive secretary to the superintendent before the meeting is called to order. Once the board president opens the public hearing, individual speakers are then permitted up to 5 minutes to support, oppose, or otherwise offer an opinion on the issue. The board limits the total time for public input to 20 minutes. When public input has concluded, the board president will close the public hearing. Forum. The governing board is interested in the ideas and opinions of the stakeholders and endeavors to incorporate community views into its deliberations and decisions. At the same time, it must be able to conduct its business in an organized and efficient manner, free from material disruption. Therefore, in accordance with board bylaw 9323 and government code section 54957.9, audience members may not disrupt, disturb, or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of this meeting. Open meeting laws do not confer a privilege or protection for expression beyond that otherwise provided by law. The public's understanding and cooperation are appreciated. 9.1, educational services, presentation and public hearing to allow public input on the 2025-2026 local control and accountability plan, LCAP. 1.A, call hearing to order.
So moved.
Bill,
Second.
Scott. Any discussion? Calling for a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Sorry, let me go ahead and introduce our Director of Instruction and Curriculum, Mrs. Whiteside.
Good evening, trustees, superintendent and cabinet. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you our 25-26 LCAP.
Apologies from order. What time was the public hearing called to order?
6:10.
Thank you so much. All right, so getting us started here, you can see our rim of the world, if you will. Got a nice presentation slide there for you. And it's so important that as we start off talking about the LCAP, we think about our educational partners and hence rim of the world and incorporating all of our educational partners as the rim terms.
That's the rim term.
This way. Click on.
There we go. There we are. There we are. All right, so that first slide, I love this picture. If you Google Rim of the World Unified, you will see this image. It's one of the beautiful pictures of our high school. And so I thought I would use that picture to again share our demographics, 7 wonderful schools, 2,917 students, 360 staff. Again, congratulations to all of our staff who have retired. We appreciate their service and all that they have done for our students and our schools and our community. You can see the breakdown in demographics of our district listed there. But then as again, we talk about educational partners, we look at the number of meetings that we engage in. And that's a portion of your LCAP where we talk about, getting that insight, getting those surveys, meeting with our educational partners, meeting with our student focus group, getting that consultation with EB SALPA, making sure we're talking about what does inclusion look like and how are we supporting that as a district. Also looking at our professional development days and our TLC days, 2 professional development days. One we know was impacted by a little bit of weather. So you do see that referenced in the LCAP at different locations for that action item. But then TLC days, 25 wonderful TLC days with that opportunity for that guaranteed and viable curriculum, that GDC alignment, and that support and that great work that our teachers are doing. Okay, thank you. This slide is just a reminder to you that our dashboard is really associated with our state measures and our local measures. And so as you look on the next slide, you'll see how each goal of the LCAP aligns to those measures. We're going to talk local indicators at the next board meeting, but for today's purposes, should I give you that review of the state and local measures? Nope. So you're familiar with goal 1, 2, and 3, and you can see the state priorities that are identified for each of those goals. Again, goal 1, that increasing student learning and that support for professional development. Goal 2, facilitating that safe and positive school climate. Goal 3, engaging families and community. But one you have not seen before, which is new to you here, and I think that even if you click again, it says, what's new, right? Points you to goal 4. Goal 4 is an equity multiplier goal, and it's considered a focus goal as opposed to a broad goal. The addition of the focus goal is one of our schools, Mountain High School, was identified as an equity multiplier. And so I'll talk a little bit more about what that means and the actions and the metrics associated with the equity multiplier in another slide. But just wanted to point out you've got that additional goal added on, which is a focus goal, not a broad goal. So only applying to one school at this time. There we are. So one of the components of looking at the LCAP and our progress with our metrics and our actions is there's 4 prompts in the LCAP that look at effectiveness, implementation, and where we were with that goal this year. So the goal 1 update during 24-25, we made substantial progress toward goal 1. We implemented 89% of our planned actions. That includes the strategic use of our PLC days, structured teacher collaboration, professional development, and all of those supporting the guaranteed and viable curriculum and development of common assessments. We're continuing that work. In this section, we also talk about, despite some of the challenges of school closures, like the line fire, inclement weather, power, the different things that have been mentioned that we're all aware of, whether our actions are delayed, halted, or not implemented as planned is what we have to reference in this section of the LCAP. So for example, sharing that our PD day is one of our actions in goal 1, there's 2 days, one of those 2 days wasn't impacted by weather. The great thing is that as we look at the gains that we have seen across our district with ELA and math, we're continuing to see growth. We're already, and I can't share too much, we're already looking at preliminary growth for the 25 scores, and really taking a look at how our impact from our professional development, things like the Orton-Gillingham training that our elementary and middle school teachers were able to attend to support literacy and the science of reading. When we look at our multilingual network collaboration with San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools and supporting our students receiving English learner supports, and how all of this collective cohesion, including also like our inclusion steering committee, how we are supporting our students across the board to also reduce the DF rate. So the investments in the development of formative assessment, which are continuing to grow, the high impact tutoring we were able to implement, as well as English learner supports for these further contributed to the instructional coherence and success, laying that strong foundation as we go into 25-26. So essentially your main goal update for goal 1 is looking at, mostly your impacts of anything that may not have been fully implemented, which may have been due to like line fire or closure. All right, goal 2, we largely implemented goal 2 actions as planned with strong implementation across MTSS and TVIS. And so as we look at that, we see that each one of our school sites developed their own MTSS plan this year and are moving in the direction of those interventions and supports, both with that support at like principals roundtable as our principals come together and talk about their MTSS as a whole site, what commonality we see across that, as well as the site meetings for MTSS, so it can be more specific to the elementary, middle school, high school, continuation, or virtual environments. So also in goal 2, you'll see like universal meals, transportation, things like that, that are continuing in our planning. Again, with those delays, Saturday school started a little bit later than we had hoped, as did our high impact tutoring. But once both of those got going, we saw some substantial gains in those, some really great programs like our cross-curricular tutoring or our cross-age tutoring that you saw some of our NPH students supporting the elementary in terms of the tutoring. We are continuing to utilize that Care Solace initiative. We did see that positive impact with Care Solace this year. We do keep those numbers, and you'll see those in the metrics, how the need actually reduced. And we're looking at how the need reduction is also associated with a strong MTSS foundation. So overall, despite some of those challenges from fire, weather, power outage, whatever it might be, we're still seeing a very positive impact across our district. For goal 3, we made meaningful progress in engaging families and community. Something that you really, I'm sure, felt this year was that community impact, right? The partnerships that we have with supporting attendance incentives and working with Sky Park to support positive attendance, or to work with some of our families in encouraging ELAC participation in our English Learner Advisory Council, being part of PTA, growing a lot of those activities that bring our families in and make them feel part of the process. So parent engagement surveys and workshops were successfully implemented, and they demonstrated favorable results. And that's based on what we see on our Kelvin. So again, as you see the little dog pop up in your Chromebook for the students, or when our families get that parent square in that email, that has been a real favorable response there. We did see an increase in the favorable component. You'll see that again in the metrics, about 2% increase there for the parents. Regular communication has been very positive as well. We have been working with our community outreach coordinator, who's been sending out our parent squares and keeping our families and community abreast of everything that's going on. One action in goal 3 that we didn't quite get off the ground that you'll see is something that we're continuing to focus on, is the support for our families of students receiving special services. We're working on a handbook, and we've already partnered with ED-SELPA to get that off the ground in 25-26 with sample handbooks that are in neighboring districts within our county. So we're looking forward to continuing that great work with our special services director and going into 25-26. Then this slide, I just chose to give you a little bit more information about goal 4. The prompts that you would have seen for goal 1, 2, 3, and 4, or for 1, 2, and 3, when we talk about implementation and was it fully executed, don't exist yet for goal 4 because this is the first year of goal 4. So next year you'll get the update based on those 4 prompts. But goal 4 essentially is that equity multiplier, and that's when you are at a minimum of 75% for the Title I, unduplicated count. And then you are 25% non-stability rate. So we have students coming in and out. And so Mountain was identified as an equity multiplier school. And that focus is to improve graduation and suspension rates by 2027. So with Mountain High School also being in comprehensive school improvement, we are focusing the academic efforts with the CSI support and the CSI funding there. For equity multiplier, we really wanted to focus on that competence, motivation, and social emotional support for our students at Mountain. And we worked with the county as well as some of our neighboring districts to talk about how they're utilizing equity multiplier, especially in the continuation setting. So we are working with Mountain Counseling and Training to develop a wellness center at Mountain High School. And so that contract you'll see there in that action for the full school year at $45,000. And then $15,000 for social emotional professional development. And that's really to put that effort towards supporting our students with that confidence, that growth, that emotional support on campus, as they're also working with CSI to access the academic supports. Right. So what are the successes we're seeing across our district? From the 24 data that we look at and analyze as part of our needs assessment. In ELA, we had significant improvement, no student groups in the red performance level across our district in 2024. Our English learners and students with disabilities is out of the red at the district level. We worked with Orton Gillingham Science of Reading to increase our literacy training and support. And we also have been using that training with our EL core leaders who are developing an articulation of language acquisition that is grade level specific. So again, you heard from Mr. Niablis at our last presentation. He's working really hard on that articulation and using the morphology and the Greek and Latin root words to identify language acquisition. Another key piece with English language arts you'll also see in math is our GVC standards and curriculum alignment by grade level. Again, we continued that great work with our instructional coaches this year, aligning grade level and department teams to really build out their standards alignment, but not just standards alignment, looking at those standards and the learning progressions. Because you need to understand the learning progressions to be able to develop essential interventions, right, or enrichment to support the students in their performance. So again, a great kudos to our instructional coaches and the work that they've been doing with the GDC, and that we're going to continue into 25-26, bringing back, you may have heard before, we used to use the term curriculum council or the instructional support team. That'll be the next layer, is bringing that team together that represents departments and grade levels across our district to continue that effort with our GDC and really get our common assessments off the ground. Math here, fewer students in red, only the long-term English learners, and we are working on our professional development for that for the 25-26. All student groups improved from red in 2023. And then we've continued our efforts with math conferences. We had representatives from every secondary school go to the CMC South, I believe I'm saying that correctly, this past fall. And then we're continuing our work with the county on building our capacity around the new math framework that was released in 2023. The instructional coaches and I will be attending the very first math release for the new publisher materials. Just so happens to be the first day of school. It's August 12th and 13th. But so we'll be joining the county for that because we want to be ahead of the game on the new math materials that are coming out. So for college and career readiness, we've been partnering with CCGI, or the California Colleges Guidance Initiative, with a soft rollout. We went live in November of 24, and we're doing the full rollout with articulation from grades 6 through 12. And you've heard us chat a little bit about that in the past, but we're excited for that rollout in the fall. We're working with Cal State San Bernardino on dual credit opportunities for the fall of 2025. We have several courses that are prepared. We're in that process of submitting the syllabus to Cal State San Bernardino. And again, continuing that A through G alignment. Chronic absenteeism, we're working on a Saturday Academy participation. As you've seen, that has grown significantly. We got to give a great kudos to our teachers and our site administrators across our district for really building that momentum and creating exciting and engaging activities in our Saturday Academy. Continuing with monthly attendance incentives and our partnerships with community members, as we've shared. And then with suspension rate, continuing our MTSS site plans across our district, and that professional development is really key to supporting the positive environment under Goal 2. So success is district-wide. We're continuing to focus on closing that learning gap. Really focusing in on that tier 1 instruction. As you heard me share, we're continuing with IST going into the 25-26 school year. When it comes to technology, we are 2-to-1 grades 6 through 12 and moving to grades 3 through 12 into next school year. Again, a huge thank you to our tech team, Mr. Malone, Ms. Fisher, Mr. Purinton, for helping us out with that Chromebook rollout for 3rd through 5th grade. So expanding that 2-to-1 access down to 3rd grade in the 25-26 school year. And of course, continuing that daily transportation, universal meals and offerings. So our greatest areas of need that we're working on moving into the 25-26 school year, as we talked about, closing that achievement gap, continuing our great work with GDC. And you see that in both English and in math. You've heard us talk about the systems of support training that's coming specifically for our students with receiving EL services, as well as our students receiving special services with that inclusion training, wrapping those all up, getting those ready to go. Here we go. And then again, chronic absenteeism and engagement, we're continuing those efforts. Saturday schools is essentially a repeat of what I kind of shared in the last slide. The CCGI with college and career readiness. And then specifically in the next couple of slides, I'll just share with you the areas that we're doing in terms of differentiated assistance, CSI for Mountain High School, ATSI or TSI for MPH, and what those look like as we continue those supports. I think we covered most of that already, those with you. So differentiated assistance, we're continuing, again, with the systems of support plan. We've got our dates solidified. And the exciting thing is the county will be coming in and meeting with our site administrators between every training to make sure that each training was truly what was best supporting our teachers in the field with their teams. And our partners from ED Stelpa will be doing the same, zooming in with our teachers and our principals to make sure that they are meeting the needs based on the requests that we've received. So that's how we're continuing VA. For Mountain High School, you can see their plan there for CSI, supporting our counselor, continuing our solution tree contract, both for the academic growth as well as to support our administrator. We are adding a CTE elective for Mountain High School, which will be an expansion of CTE offering, and then continuing professional development and instructional resources. For MPH, we have the remaining 24-25 funds that we're going to carry into August, since that fiscal deadline is in September, and they're going to have another 8 days of support with that. And that'll give them 2 days for each course subject area in August and September to continue to work on their instructional alignment, curriculum alignment. For ATSI, CHE has exited, but they are continuing to participate in our GBC release time. For MPH, as we just shared, they've got that plan for August and September. And then for the equity multiplier, we shared that with both for where they'll be working on that wellness center, as well as the professional development for social and emotional learning and to support our teams there. So the last few slides here, again, break down each action by dollar amount. And I know that Jenny will be sharing the budget here shortly. So I'm just going to give you a couple of moments to do an overview. Based on our last LCAP update, those numbers are just slightly adjusted for the increase for 25-26. So in terms of goal 1, goal 2, 3, and 4, I think you've seen those dollar amounts that they do have in front of you as well.
Quick question on that.
Absolutely.
For arts, music, athletics, electives, is that inclusive of Prop 28 funds?
That is inclusive of Prop 28. Yeah. That is inclusive. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm Indonesian. Yeah, great question. And you have your Prop 28 funds today as well. So. Yeah.
Question actually regarding the TOSAs. I know historically, when we started having TOSAs, that was from Title I. Is that continuing to be the case, or is this definitely from RLCFF?
That's a great question. So 2 of our TOSAs are paid for out of Title I, and the 3rd was out of Learning Recovery Block Grant. So what you'll see in the LCAP is for the first round of Learning Recovery Block Grant, we identified that that's fully expended. However, in that action, what was recommended by the county is that we indicate that, should we receive that second round of Learning Recovery Block Grant, contingent upon that funding, that would continue to fund that 3rd TOSA.
Speaking of that, what is the potential in receiving those funds?
From our understanding, it's pretty strong. It's where Jenny and I keep looking at each other as we've had a lot of conversations around this.
Because that's going to affect high impact tutoring, correct?
Well, and high impact tutoring is not currently allocated, as you can see.
Right.
It has a $0 amount currently because those dollars were fully expended for 24-25. However, it is included in the LCAP as a potential option once that money is there. The county guidance let us know that it was better. You had 2 options, basically. It was better to put in the action that should you receive the funding, which is a high likelihood, that you already have a plan in place, so you don't have to wait for the mid-year update to do those expenditures. So we opted for that option to go ahead and put it in the action that should we receive that second round of funding, that we would move forward with those actions specifically. So goal 1, 2, and 3 there, and then of course 4, and we just reviewed those. Next steps are your consideration for LCAP board adoption at our next June meeting, and this is the part for questions.
Jen, could I make a suggestion that in the
Absolutely.
future, that under the goal updates, please have them in green rather than red?
Absolutely. I like green better, right? That's a good choice. I like that. I think this came with a pre-made. I didn't make the world turn on these lovely slides. It was prefabricated, and I think they chose the red. And also just in terms of all your paperwork, you do have the, the sites, we used to call it the SIPSA at a glance. Well, this is your LTAP at a glance. You can choose the 176-page version or the shorter one. It just gets you the metrics, the goals, and the actions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So actually, is there any further discussions? Then 1.B, call public hearing to close.
So moved.
No, we don't have any shape work. I think.
So moved.
Bill?
Second.
Scott? Any further discussion? Calling for a vote, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I would now like to, at 6:33, thank you. Mr. Trustee Assistant Miller. Would like to now entertain this, I don't know how to go about this procedurally, but I'd like to recommend that we make a change in the order of our agenda, pulling up the student representative report 10.2 to occur now, delaying the business services presentation. Could I?
So moved.
Motion, Bill?
Second.
Scott, any discussion? So calling for a vote, making that change, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously, so now I'm going to go ahead and have, I'm gonna call it 10.2 happening now, and then we'll hop back to 9.2. If you would like to go ahead, so we don't keep you any further.
Did you? Finding
Votes. Potatoes.
All right. We proudly concluded our third trimester with an all-school awards assembly. Student achievement was celebrated across all grade levels with a particularly impressive number of honor roll recipients and perfect attendance awards. Many students achieved perfect attendance thanks to their participation in Saturday school, which provided them with opportunities to make up missed days and stay engaged in learning. Our TK kindergarten and first grade students are wrapping up the year with joyful end of year performances. These celebrations showcase their developing confidence and creativity, especially through songs, faith, and practice. Families were invited to enjoy these performances, which also helped build a strong homeschool connection. The wonders of music. That was really, I don't know if I'm looking at. Moving on to CAG. Upper grade students proudly displayed their talents for peers, parents, and community members with their hit show, CAG's Got Talent. We had a record number of participants and filled the cafeteria to capacity. We were so proud to see the growing self-confidence of our students shine. The TK/K classes are hosting their annual Spring Sing on June 9th. They will perform songs. Ooh, really those P's today. They will perform songs for their family and friends and enjoy a picnic in the garden afterwards. We will be holding our third trimester/end of the year awards assembly June 5th and 6th. We are so proud of our students and their accomplishments. The winner of the Smoky Poster Contest will be leading the assembly on a fire engine for a ride to see their poster displayed in Running Springs. This year, our perfect attendance recipients more than doubled as a result of our Saturday Academy program. We wish our students and families a wonderful summer. Moving on from elementary schools to MPH. Open house was a total hit. Parents strolled through classrooms, connected with teachers, and felt the vibrant pulse of our growing school community. At the reclassification ceremony, a heartfelt thank you to everyone who joined us at MPH for the district's reclassification ceremony. It was a beautiful evening celebrating our multilingual learners and their achievements. Aloha High School.
Eighth graders celebrated the end of their middle school journey with a luau themed celebration at the beautiful Lake Arrowhead Resort. Music, laughter, and lakefront vibes made it a promotion party to remember. Fifth grade takeover. Future mountain lions from CHE, LAE, and VOE visited MPH for their orientation. Our leadership students were top-notch tour guides, showing them around campus, playing games, and serving up our legendary barbecue hot dogs. Huge kudos to Mrs. Pete's for her masterful coordination. Celebrating excellence. We held award ceremonies for sixth, seventh, and eighth grades on June 4th to honor outstanding, exceptional attendance, honor roll and principal's honor roll, and our first ever CASP attendance award. We had 67 proud recipients. Wait. Yes. We had 67 proud recipients. The students were spinning with joy, literally, as they received spinboard prizes for their efforts. Our final award of the day was the American Legion Award, a special recognition that honors students who demonstrate good citizenship, leadership, patriotism, and service. We are proud to present this prestigious award to these elite students. I apologize, I don't have a Chromebook anymore, so I can't really read it. I'm really close. Oh, moving on to Mountain High School. We're good. I think we're good. We are thrilled to announce that Mountain High School proudly boasts a 94% graduation rate for the class of 2025, with 31 outstanding students ready to take their next steps into the future. Our recent field trip to Sky Park was a huge success, providing our senior class with an unforgettable day of fun and bonding alongside dedicated teachers who helped make the experience even more. Additionally, Friday will be an amazing day as both juniors and seniors come together to join in graduation preparations and activities, fostering a sense of camaraderie that will carry through our school's traditions for years to come. Yeah. RVA, the Virtual Academy. Rim Virtual Academy is equally excited to announce that all 12th grade seniors are on track to graduate, yielding a projected 100% graduation rate for the class of 2025. Great. This incredible achievement is a testament to the hard work, dedication, and resilience of our students throughout their academic journey. Moreover, it reflects the unwavering support from our faculty and staff who have provided guidance and resources to help each student reach this important milestone in their education. Prom was a fantastic turnout, and I'm thankful for RHS hosting at the Victoria Country Club. Snow Valley. All right. Lastly, RV. I think that's supposed to mention the Snow Valley graduation pictures that are happening tomorrow. Not sure. Yeah. All right. There. Next week, tomorrow evening, there will be graduation pictures at Snow Valley. Lastly, RVA looks forward to graduation next Tuesday with Rim High School at 5 p.m. Gates open at 3:30. And lastly, Rim High School. Last month, Ms. Biddy and Mr. Dorado engaged their amazing students in rocket launching. This was an amazing experience led by our very own sub, Mr. Anastasi, apologies, who took the students through lessons to help them build the rockets and launch them with the students. It was an amazing experience for our students. May 19th was scholarship night. Thank you to our amazing community. Thanks to our amazing community. 85 seniors received 172 scholarships, totaling over $150,000. It was an amazing night recognizing our amazing students. Tomorrow is our senior walk. Our soon-to-be graduates will return to their elementary school and MPH to see their teachers and walk the halls with one last time. Prom was last month and was a huge success. It was held at Victoria Country Club and 250 students attended. Congratulations to Luis Victorio and Antonio Nunez for the prom king and queen. Tomorrow afternoon, Snow Valley will host RHS seniors for our annual grad photos. Students and their families will ride to the top of Chair 1 to get some amazing shots with special time. Finally, graduation is next Tuesday. At 5, we will celebrate the amazing seniors of RHS and RBA. And that is the end of the June school.
Thank you so much, Ethan. And I'd like to take a moment speak to the board and thanking you for your presentation, for being here and for doing such an amazing job. I do have from the school district a token of our appreciation, actually. So Cindy, can we take it out? No, you're the board president.
Ethan, come over here.
This is very, that's the word, endearing. This is very endearing.
And I also want to mention, the seamless presentation with a couple of gaps in that he just, in terms of being able to just kind of think on his feet, has been present all the way through this school year and appreciating that sharpness and the ability to kind of go with it. So thank you so much. And here we have a beautiful, let's say something to put on your desk, take with you, an appreciation of Ethan Smith. Thank you for your dedication.
Bad a picture.
Okay.
Whoa, sure.
Thank you.
Sorry, guys.
I wish I wasn't in my unit. It's great, it's great.
Good advertising.
Hi.
I interned at Skypark through the CTE internship program. The reason I'm wearing this uniform today is because I am part of the CTE internship program between high school and some businesses in our local community. I intern at Skypark, and I'm a marketing intern. I make advertisements and videos and other such things, mostly for Instagram. And I'm in charge of posting some not. A lot of my stuff has been posted already. If you go on their Skypark Instagram, you will see some advertisements for their skate nights and their Tunes in the Trees events. And all of those were designed by yours truly.
All right, dude.
I also want to mention that Ethan was the recipient of the school board's $500 scholarship and was awarded that on the scholarship night that he mentioned earlier. Heading back to 9.2. Business services presentation and public hearing on the proposed 2025-2026 budget. Jenny Haviland, if I can ask you to go to the podium, thank you. And you can go ahead and call the public hearing to order, 2.A. Call public hearing to order. Do I have a motion? Phil? Oh, that was Jordan?
Second.
Scott? We'll go ahead and take a vote on being able to call this to order at 6:46. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Jenny, if I can, let me go ahead and gavel in case. And so we'll call to order at 6:46. Go ahead, Jenny.
Okay, thank you very much. As part of the budget development process, per ed code, we need to have a budget hearing along with the LCAP hearing, at a different board meeting than budget adoption or LCAP adoption. And the LCAP actually must come first before the budget on the agenda items, both at the hearing and at the adoption, per ed code. So part of the reason why we're here today is to talk about the proposed 25-26 budget as we are in compliance with the statutory budget inspections period. The draft of the budget has been up at the front desk since last Friday. And then we've since replayed, but we made a couple minor changes, which is the printed budget was different than what we put out there because every time, we looked at it, we were just fine tuning it. But we'll fine tune it and add some of those supplemental documents up until budget adoption, which will be on the June 26th. So what you have in front of you is you have the budget in the state software form, which has it's called the SAC software. And what we do is we really that's just an export from our financial system into the state software. So there is a lot of information in the PowerPoint, and I'm not going to go slide by slide. And there's a lot that you can read and email or call me or text me if you have questions. And but most of the beginning of the presentation is really about why and how we build the budget and the mechanics behind that. So, why do we have to have a budget hearing and what's the oversight is that our county schools office is our fiscal oversight agent. We have to include multi-year projections and we have to include a variety of supplemental information. I think there will be 3 types of budget approval or not, an approved, conditionally approved, or disapproved budget. We are anticipating an approved budget. Okay, and where are we in our budget cycle? We are month of June, the year went by fast, and at this point, the district has our budget adoption in June, the LCAP adoption, and the state and the state budget will be adopted and signed by our governor. We hope. I think now that they've tied their paychecks and the legislators to having an on-time budget. They definitely meet their timelines and put everything else in a trailer bill that they couldn't get done. So we are here, we're in June. Okay, and the budget is built on, I'm not going to go, this is a slide. If you went to the school services conference with me, you saw this slide. We were here watching it on Zoom at the district office. I stole some of their slides because they had it nice and compact. So the majority of the budget for the LCFF purposes and other state funding purposes is built on the governor's May revision. So that is a time where the governor revises his budget for the next fiscal year, 25-26. And there's a variety of assumptions. And now we're in kind of the midst of the legislators and the governor negotiating on what items from the governor's proposal to what will land in the budget. And there's some give and take that happens at the state level. And that will, some things are high risk and some things are low risk. And what you've asked Mrs. Whiteside is with the Learning Recovery Block Grant, that it's by coincidence, I had made some notes to self in preparing for today on some little risk and high risk components of the budget. And the Learning Recovery Block Grant, although it's not a very large amount of money, there is a low risk that wouldn't be funded. Would it be able to fund all of the components that we've identified in the LCAP? We don't anticipate full funding for all of those, but we would anticipate some funding. And so those are like that's a low risk to be eliminated after the governor has proposed it. And the reason with the Learning Recovery Block Grant having low risk is because it was already apportioned in last year's budget, the 24-25. So, and the governor withheld some of those funds. So this is already apportioned funding that are due to schools. There is some risks in the governor's budget, and we've talked a lot about that. The state is at a deficit in its own budget. Prop 98, which is the minimum guarantee for schools, the floor amount that schools are funded, that overall has, is mostly funded. There's some maneuvers that the governor has tried before and is trying again to under apportion school districts. So that we'll probably have it stay in court if that comes to fruition, and we would anticipate the advocacy groups who are which we're part of that which would be behind that lawsuit being successful, because it is against the unconstitutional few of the items that the governor is proposing. So There is some global risks in the state's budget, largely around the big three taxes on the wildfires, and not, you know, having an extension, if you're in LA County, having some extensions to file your taxes, and how will those taxes come about? And what's happening at the federal level, with the state. So there's some items out of the states and our control that are, have some risks, associated to the overall California state budget. So we must work within those guidelines. So, I already talked a little bit about this, just on what's happening between the state and the federal. Again, this is a school services slide, not my own, but that's there. You can, have it if you're happy. Okay, so how does the budget and the action tables and the LCAP support each other? So in a perfect world, the LCAP would be guiding the budget. And when you're in a declining enrollment deficit spending district, there is a little bit of forcing a budget into the LCAP, and the priorities. Like Mrs. Whiteside said, you know, we've been working a lot, many hours together over the last month. Her heavy is definitely with that LCAP. And so, and there's a lot to it, but identifying, the components of the LCAP and where they are in the budget. When the LCAP's up for adoption and you, go through the 170 something pages, you'll be able to identify under an action if it's LCFF funding, federal funding, or other states. So when you have some of those questions, you'll be able to see on what, go right in the middle where the budget is. And you can, if you're curious on what type of fund is funding that, whether it's Title I, that would be federal, give either one of us a call and we can walk you through that also. And because we do have to identify what is federal funds, state funds, local funds, and LCFF funds. And of the LCFF funds, what is supplemental concentration, which 100% of our supplemental concentration projected amounts have to be represented in the LCAP. So that's when Jen and I are definitely working together. Okay, the next several slides is just building the budget. You know, and what do you do? I won't go page by page because I think we've talked about this a lot. But as you build the budget, revenues, expenditures, fund balance, what's the different components of funding? Largely LCFF is our biggest component of the budget. And then just where we get the information and who we rely on for some of those estimates and planning factors. We rely on the county office, groups like school services, capital advisors, FICMAT, CDE itself, other groups that may donate money or programs that we are in. So we're building it's kind of piece by piece as we compile all of the different funding sources and associated expenditures. Again, part of the budget, you know, we include things like higher increases to our health and welfare, the 7 column that our employees receive on the salary schedule, any known increases to the budget. So we go through those, and there are certain items that we double check that we have, any settlements we've had, what do utilities look like? It's really becomes like a line by line analysis of making sure we capture all of those costs. Our budget includes a 3-year multi-year projection. We do submit a 5-year to our county office because they are our oversight, and that is what they would like to see. They'd like to, that doesn't go up to the state. That's more of an in-house as they monitor our fiscal solvency. You can read some of this on your own. It's, you know, we get apportionment notices. We have estimates for Title I and lottery and mandated cost grants. And any one time, we do eliminate the one-time monies that we know we fully expended, like a learning recovery block grant, and by this time, of course, all of the COVID funds. Okay. The biggest part of identifying our total LCFF budget is we really need to start with enrollment, because our enrollment drives our ADA, and then projecting that over the next 5 years, And then that with that ADA amount, and then what percent of our students are an unduplicated student, which is an unduplicated is an English learner, low income, foster, homeless, migrant, military. And so identifying those are the basics of calculating the total LCFF dollars. So having a handle on where we are with our enrollment, and then projecting that enrollment over the next 5 years on normal matriculation by grade level. We do watch some of our higher grade, as a high graduating class exit, or maybe a hot, like 8th graders going into 9th grade, 5th graders going into 6th grade. When we have different types of staffing ratios by grade, enrollment then not only guides our total LCFF, it guides what our staffing should look like for the majority of our programs. And you can see here our actual CBEDs, which is our census day, and then projected CBEDs, which we do have to include in our LCFF calculator that gets submitted with the budget.
I see you're projecting a slight increase for next year.
There is kind of how, if we project flat enrollment, there is a natural increase with projected incoming TK. Okay.
Okay.
We also have an average increase to our 9th grade group from students who leave our school district and come back in the 9th grade. So we are looking at those, it's mostly those two components that are creating a tiny bit higher enrollment.
Because our senior class is a little bit larger, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't bring that, but we've talked about it several times. I can verify, I don't want to give wrong information from memory. So, but you probably have it more clear than I do right now, a lot of numbers in my head, so.
Thanks.
Just want to confirm also, as far as his enrollment numbers, adult ed will not be included in that enrollment.
No, preschool or adult ed is not included in any of our enrollment or ADA. Okay, we don't get ADA on even our current preschool now, or adult ed, it's funded differently. Okay, this is our last audited attendance month 10, for the whole district. You can see that bottom cluster there, and the red line that's a little bit higher than everyone else is where our current enrollment is. And so what we're really will be looking at over the next 5 years, and we've talked about this many times, is what will kind of a post-COVID trend become up here, because we really don't know. We had such a fluctuation and a decline, then a bounce back, and our attendance rates, stayed very low. What will our enrollment look like? So we're have a modest decline projected, but relatively flat.
I think it's noteworthy, looking at all the years that are listed, that this school year, we're projected to end the year with more students than we started. And I don't know if that's ever happened.
I'd have to go back and,
Way back.
Way back. In the 27-year history, we could have.
Yeah, okay.
Uh-huh.
This millennium.
Yeah.
This 5-year cycle. Or,
Yeah.
and the corresponding attendance rate, and you can, or attendance ADA, you can see has been flat all year also, where that has usually tapered down from December to June, that maintained flat. We can credit probably some of the Saturday school to that. And also we did have the fire and then the weather. We did apply for a waiver for those days, so we had a shorter time period that of the attendance. So one of the things I'd like to talk about though, this is another school services slide, just on a county level and state level. I thought this, even though they didn't include San Bernardino. You can see with the districts that they included in their slideshow when at their conference. You can see of the districts who the projected decline for each one, and really depending on where you're at. And one of the thoughts in October, we usually have an economist come and talk to the CBOs. And that's always a really interesting presentation, is as families move east, right, where the housing is more affordable. Is it totally affordable? I don't think so at all. I mean, there's still a problem there. But as districts move east, you know, there could be some districts that have a very large decline and some districts that actually grow because of that. Like there's expecting growth in the high desert and they're actually building new schools. So that's probably an exciting place to be in where the families are moving to. One of the things I'd like to touch on, because it is one of the major components that's a pressure on our budget, there's several, is the our ADA rate. We ended the year at a 91.65. Well, we're almost done. We have a couple more weeks, but that average isn't going to change much. A 91.65 district-wide attendance rate. So that's K to TK through 12. And what would our increase in funding be if we could increase that attendance rate? So getting even up to a 94.65, which is below a 90, what our prior goals were, that would you're looking at $1.2 million increase, and that's ongoing funding. So an area that's I would consider a high pressure on the budget is our attendance rate, and there's probably many factors. We are not alone. We are right there where most districts are in the state. So that statewide average used to be about 93.5 to 95 and a half, bouncing between there. And now the statewide average is right around where we're at. So districts aren't seeing, a big jump from the COVID low attendance rates. So that's an area of focus. It's mentioned in the LCAP. And as we move forward, I would consider it a concern for the budget.
In your professional opinion, how much were we impacted by various non-school days, line fire, the power outages?
That didn't affect this rate at all because we applied for a waiver. And so what the waiver does is the waiver just reduces those days and gives you credit as if they happened. So it reduces your denominator in the calculation. So your cumulative days, instead of having 180 days, but if we had a waiver for 15, it would be 165 days. So you still have that accumulative attendance for all the days the students were in attendance divided by a lower denominator.
Understood. So we did, so it was affected in terms of lack of opportunity for Saturday schools earlier on in the year. But in terms of, and we were able to already incorporate.
It probably disrupted our flow and our planning and our getting things going, as you can see in many different areas. It also, we do look at, we can file a material decrease waiver for any day that is below the 90%. But with changes to the J13, it's now a little bit harder because you have to have that where you are. So it's not 100 to 90, and if you're at 88, you can do that. So we looked at that. We thought we can maybe squeak in 1 or 2 ADA. It wouldn't have been much, but with the new J13 rules, we didn't qualify for any material decrease days. But I wanted to include this slide because we talked about it at the attendance committees. We talked about it before. And there's so much of the budget that's out of our control that there is, a piece that we can focus on.
Mine's out here. They're all there.
Mine is
Good. You have the power.
Make sure you're having all days to change together so that
Okay, so there's the days will change, so.
I can repeat your question so it can pick up.
Yeah, and this could be for Jen. One of you, have we actually looked at the statistics from Saturday school to see how much that's affecting our overall attendance?
I'd actually asked, my senior accountant Scott in my office to, run that data for us. I don't know if you looked at it yet, but I did ask Scott because, we can pull those days of kids who have recouped an absence in Aries and we can apply it to the daily rate. And, we've been talking about that. We don't have it here for tonight, but, that has been on our mind too, because we want to know, are we breaking even? Are we generating revenue? We know it's good for kids. So, but is it a break even or is it a funding, is it generating funding?
So perhaps report sometime in the future.
Mike's working.
They're lit up, so perhaps sometime in the future, report on what the Saturday schools have accomplished for it's 88.
I'm glad you put this up here because I remember back before COVID, we always had those campaigns, Strive for 95. But we were so close to getting 95, and this clearly shows the budget hit that's happened as a result of that. So thank you for that.
Okay. All right, and we go in and out of including the slide because we do give a date, what a day generates in attendance. And there's two pieces of this slide. I would never want someone to think we just want a student to attend for the funding alone. But what it can turn into is if you look at it per day, but then if you look at it at a district wide, it can say, well, look what we can provide if we have this additional funding and what we can do for students. So and turning that around to not look so negative, that's kind of hard to do. And we talked about that before without having a negative light on, well, you just want us here for the money. That's not true. It's what the money can then bring to a district budget, which is then providing services to students, kind of how to shape that future conversation as we dive into strategies to improve attendance.
We're talking about shaping that though. One of the things that I think COVID has done to our society in general is really made people think twice about going to things when they aren't feeling well, when they're sick.
Absolutely.
So that Strive for 95 is really trying to encourage you to show up, period. And so I wonder whether it might be a Sacramento issue that we're funded on butts and seats, but in actuality, we should maybe look at that differently because we don't want to have people showing up when they're going to.
And I think we've all been placed and we've been going like, darn it, why did they show up? Now we're all gonna feel sick tomorrow. But yeah, so that same thought is we don't want someone to come to school and spread a flu bug or a stomach virus to 100 students and staff.
So on that note, I made a note to myself when we talk advocacy, possibly to have that be something that we discuss as a group.
I would say it is, you're right, at the state level that forces that negative light. That we're looking at it from the lens of, students that go up per day. That's the reality of how the state has decided to fund it. But part of our advocacy platform, which is full and fair funding, talks about shifting away from, funding based on attendance and moving more to an enrollment-based model so that we don't have to look at every child that shows up or doesn't show up as potentially a dollar amount per day. So hopefully we can shift the light.
And I think too, with all the improvements or the opportunities we've had with universal meals, which I think has been very successful in our state, also raising the conversation of what do you miss if you don't come to school, and you miss some great meals that that our kitchen is cooking, opportunities for the extra activities in class and all those fun things that happen. So about what someone's missing, instead of about what we're not getting. So, especially since, we've made, I think, a lot of improvement in some of those items that, are, a positive when you're at school. So,
Maybe there's another advocacy piece too, and that is that our educators are all doing extra work for students that don't attend. So if a student is sick, you're having to do extra work to get them back on, to get them follow-up information and all. And so there is another advocacy piece there that there ought to be some percentage of expectation from the state that honors that too.
So you're saying go ahead and fund it based on ADA, but if the student doesn't show up, pay us extra.
If you're going to continue to fund us on ADA, recognize that educators still have a responsibility to work with students who have missed. And so give some kind of recognition for that.
right, the next, this is just, our history of STRS and PERS rates. We had a tiny bit of relief this year, didn't make much impact onto the budget on PERS, and STRS is relatively flat and projected to be flat. Okay. This is our summary of our LCFF dollars. One of the things I'd like to highlight is some of the growth in LCFF, based on what the state is projecting COLAs to be, but also to look at the year-over-year change and that related percentage. So if you go into, let's just say 24-25, we had a 1.07% COLA. But the actual change in funding from 23-24 to 24-25 was actually a negative. So kind of turning the it into dollars, not necessarily percentage, you can see where our LCFF trends are. Going into 25-26, the makeup of property taxes and state aid. One of the things that we've talked before about our district is that we are a higher tax district, so that means we're not as reliant on state aid. You can see the percentage of the budget, what is state aid and property taxes. Where that helps us, we don't get any more money. We could have 100% of that being taxes, and we're not going to get any more money for that. But it is when they do things like deferrals, and the deferrals are in the state budget. But that means the state is paying us $24-25 in 25-26, 25-26 in 26-27. We could not account for our funding that way. That's more of a cash basis than accrual basis. But we are not as reliant. We're not even going to feel that money move at this point, because we have sufficient cash, and delaying one payment from the state to us by 2 weeks, we're not having to worry about getting loans or other financing options that when back in 2010, 11, 12, when they were deferring 60% of your funding, districts were having to go out and finance just to make payroll. So we're not in a situation, even though that I'd rather have a deferral at the state than a budget cut at the state. Because one is just cash basis, one is hits your budget. Okay, that's just our history of COLAs since 2013-14 when LCFF came about. And this next slide is just what of our total LCFF, what pieces are for what purpose or for what kind of tag do they have at the state level. And you can see our base grant is really, that's for regular operations. Our supplemental concentration, though, that's the dollar amount that must be reflected in the LCAP. And that should be the focus for our unduplicated students. Then we have the add-ons, which are transportation funding, so the TK add-on to support the 12-to-1 or the 10-to-1, and then some targeted assistance. So those are the components that make up our total LCFF funds. And one of the things I'd like to share about the TK add-on, we budgeted the TK add-on at the $3,148 amount. And the governor had in his May revise to fund that at the 5,545, which would help us with the extra aid support in that classroom. Regardless of if he funds at 31 or 45, what we're hearing now is that 10-to-1 is going to be in effect going into next year. That could change, that there's negotiating right now. And because that higher dollar amount would be one that would be considered a high risk budget item, it is not included in the budget. So if in the trailer bills or if the budget adoption, that will be part of our revision. That would be an increase if that materializes. Right now, we have the extra aid support in the budget, but without the extra funding. 3148 is actually a little bit higher than 2425. So in the governor's eyes, he did add funding to TK, therefore it's 10-to-1. So, but it's just not what at the dollar amount that they had hoped. But we'll see. I mean, there's, till June 15th until we'll know. Okay. This is I condensed the multi-year projection. You have some a printout of the more detail, but just kind of a one pager. Instead of that tiny, you can barely see it up on the screen. And you can see our 25, 26 unrestricted and restricted totals, our contributions to our special programs on the restricted side of the budget. We are projected to spend more than we're bringing in for 25, 26. That has been our trend. And you can see our beginning balance reserves was 15,199,350. So by cutting into that reserve amount by that deficit spending. But we'll see if we have a 45-day revision required or just incorporate these in the September unaudited actuals, which I would anticipate. So any changes to this will be, if we don't have to do a 45-day official budget revision, it'll be incorporated in the September, I believe, September 18th board meeting with the unaudited actuals.
I just want to note that, for one of your earlier slides, COLA might be 2.3 for LCFF, but the actual increase in dollars is 1.6 that you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at our expenditures for LCFF, our expenditures are increasing over twice that, almost 4%, are increasing next year. So if you actually look at the scenario, we're worse off from the state because our expenditures increase faster than the COLA.
A COLA only environment for any school district, especially a low COLA, is really a cut. I mean, so when the governor funds minimum guarantee and only the COLA, districts for the most part need to look at that. Yes, maybe you're going to get additional funding, but you need to think about that as a cut because it won't cover second column, health and welfare, utilities, and different unfunded mandates. So a COLA only environment is really not additional funding for schools. I don't mean to be really down on our state right now, but it's not extra money for schools. It's just not. So, and I think that they're trying to change or call people out when they say, we've increased funding to schools, but you didn't when you've looked at these other items. Okay. This is also a condensed version. I think my prior slides, it's all the different categories of classified or all the different categories of certificated. But I was trying to not have the PowerPoints look so busy, and I'm like, okay, what's just gonna be the meat of the information. Okay, the components of our ending fund balance. So we do have going into 25, 26, we would have after our revenues minus expenditures, we would have a reserve balance of 9.5 million and change. Our 3% reserve for uncertainties. We have our revolving cash check-in reserve for stores. We have the other items that are in our assigned balances right now. That is when we bought out the claim for Grandview, our prior Fund 14. So it's a Medi-Cal, our technology reserves from when we sold the district building and Blue Jay and some other items that we've been building. And you can see we're ending our proposed budget. Okay, it's a point in time, a lot can change. Our proposed budget would have ending reserve balance of 9.49. But as you can see, the deficit spending going, if everything were to stay the same and funding were to stay the same, you know, you can see how much we're deficit spending each year. In our third year budget, which will be submitted with our proposed budget, we are eliminating all of that excess reserves to maintain a positive ending fund balance. So then in our third year, we will only have a 3% reserve. I'm still submitting a positive ending fund balance at the end of our third year in this budget. And what's important for that is that, you know, we anticipate full county approval. And then any changes or savings we want to, we have the time to work on that together this year. And then we'll see what as first interim, second interim, depending on what the county oversight would add. You know, is there going to be other items that they request? I don't know, but I would anticipate yes to that. A graph of our difference between our revenues and our expenditures. You can see our revenues are lower than expenditures. That's why we're deficit spending. Our unallocated fund balance. Here's a school services slide. And it's for the average school district in California. I have in the past spent the time to create this just for REM. It does take a bit of time with door closed in your office, but it really, when we calculate it specific to REM versus the average school district, the story is really the same. And if you look at the year-over-year growth in LCFF and how we just talked about what COLA only and flat is really a cut, because you can see, you know, what costs come up each year that take that additional funding first. Okay, I think I've talked about this. I haven't called out some specific programs, but pressures and concerns on the budget. Rising special education costs is a concern in the budget. A lot of times there's you know, we must service our students and there's not a lot in our control. But for the district to be aware, it's probably doubled in the last 2 years as of what the contribution from our LCFF base to the program. There is no significant funding increases on the state or federal side, but the costs continue to rise. So to see our contribution from our base dollar LCFF to different programs, special ed just being one, is a pressure on the budget because it takes away from the other areas of the budget that will really have the cuts first. Low attendance rates we talked about. We have had a need for increased staffing, although not a lot of increased enrollment or ADA. Some of it is just where students fell this year and our staffing ratios. And so needing another teacher, not without necessarily 30 more kids. We kind of found ourselves in this on the elementary side. It was about 3 FTE work. We have different program changes that are creating the need for staff, not necessarily increasing that revenue behind it. And another item is the 8218 assessments and hire workers. Our workers comp personally to RIM has gone down. So we actually had the last 3 years, we've had our XBODs for property liability and workers comp slightly go down each year. So we've done, but overall, the state is seeing a trend of higher worker comps, right? So if that will eventually kind of catch up to RIM, we don't know, but the state's seeing that. 8218 we've talked about before, and that is the sexual assault and molestation claims and new legislation that pretty much opened up a look back and a virtually no statute of limitations for that. And districts are seeing, we've called before nuclear settlements, and not saying that it's probably, I mean, if the child gets hurt, you know, I mean, that's probably the least that a district can do, and juries are seeing that. So, but what they're doing to districts like ours, I'm just gonna go to one next slide, is the special assessments for RIM started in 21-22. You can see that it started at like 60,000. Then the next year was 127. Then the next year was 210. This year, last board meeting, their agenda item was that you approved our fourth assessment. And to be honest, we were kind of going like, we've never brought these to court before because, like, you know, we just have to pay them. They're part of insurance. Then we're like, oh, we better start, you know, that needs to go to board. And so, so we haven't really, you know, we talked about it, but to see, you know, will there be a fifth?
And just to get clarification here, this isn't from our districts having their claims within our RIM district. This is because we're part of the JPA.
Correct. This is part of our JPA, which is pooled group of the districts and the excess insurance company. So we are pooled. We have a limit with our pooled districts. Then we have excess insurance carrier, which is through self. And self is that excess layer. And then after self would be again district. So we have these different layers of excess insurance, and this is the statewide excess insurance program.
That's self.
That's self.
What's really sad is I sat in a room and we talked about AB 218, and there's legislation trying to not re-victimize the victims of sexual assault in all the station, but there's a case that literally is now being processed from a claim in 1940 something. And there's many cases that are being brought forward from the 70s, from the 60s, and no one is around or even alive for some of these cases. No one is from there isn't anything.
So
And so it becomes,
how do you defend that?
How does the district defend itself
When we
even if
need,
it did the proper stats from the case that came from so long ago? And that is I guess the balance of making sure that victims are compensated for what happened to them, but at the same time, thinking protections in place where districts can defend themselves from cases that happened so long ago that even the insurance companies are no longer the insurance companies.
right. And so that is, there's a lot of discussion at the state level, and there's a lot of discussions with groups like FICMAP, you've probably heard, on what to do. One of the, hopefully this will make its way in through the legislature, is that if a district becomes insolvent based on a AB 218 claim, but wouldn't have without it, does that state intervention, besides just helping financially, can that change to stay the board, stay the cabinet, you know, maintain operations? Because if there was only due to an AB 218, but to have that, what's in the ed code for the state had to come in and give an emergency loan, to have a distinction of insolvent, you know, troubles because of this, or just troubles because of you know, other items. So that's going on. And one of the big problems too is when we've talked about this with other items, when bills get pushed through the legislature, they can be tagged as a no fiscal impact. And where's that vetting happening at the state level? Because this bill was tagged as a no fiscal impact. And the thought at the time was, well, insurance companies are deep pockets and they'll just pay for it. Not knowing that public agencies like ours are self-insured JPA pools for the most part. So to have, something that was not vetted and then became, such a fiscal impact to school districts, I don't think was the intention. But it's reality. Now to undo some of that legislation, our officials will, who wants to now vote against a bill that was there to protect kids? So I think that this is a really tough one for the state to get through. But no, these aren't because of any claims that have been on written. These are to beef up the pooled, like our share of that pooled funds. Okay, I think we kind of talked about everything in different areas. But just our risks in the budget. We have facilities that we have more need than what Measure E will, can fund. So keeping up on our deferred maintenance, health costs, the trend of the state to at the one time to put so many restrictions on some of our one-time monies. So where instead of saying, here's one-time money, here's money for the state, local control, your board decide what is best to be in this, categorical type world and what was supposed to be local control world, where's that give and take there? So, like with the learning recovery block grant, that was fairly flexible and we were able to sweep some of that and it gave us some budget relief and we were able to use that to work on some negotiated items. But other one-time monies, advocating for that flexibility of the funds is something else I think districts need. That and because each district is has their own challenges. So that's another area of going back to what LCFF was intended, was that to have each board and stakeholders look at what is important to them and needed in their community. We're different. We need chains on our buses and special mountain packages, and we need skip loaders and pallets of salt. I mean, we have needs that other districts don't. So just kind of our next steps, summer work, closing the books, budget revisions as they come in, and we'll start over again in August. Any questions? I did talk longer than I planned, so I apologize for that.
No, thanks for unmuting.
Thank you, Jen.
Ms. Evelyn, I want to thank you for being conservative in your budget estimates, that you're not expecting those funds to automatically be there that could come, but might not come. So I appreciate the fact that you're trying to balance things even in a conservative way. So thank you.
Yeah, especially with that TK, I'd rather come back and say, oh, we have a little budget relief than we're in a worse situation. So I do, if that comes material, we'll present that in September. Any changes, good or bad.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So 9.2B, call public hearing to a close. It's going to be set at 7:37.
So moved.
Bill?
Second.
Scott? Is there any further discussion? Calling for the vote, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Oh, that was the one.
Oh, yeah. I tried.
Skipping ahead to 10.3, governing board members. So it's going to be our comments. Do I have anybody who wishes to start us off?
I will.
Bill, go for it.
So again, I want to give congratulations to all of our graduating seniors and a special thank you to all of our staff at all grade levels who equip our students to be lifelong learners and are sending them on to the next grade or to the next place in their life. I also want to give really big, loud thank you, however you want to do it, to Jessica Mazekas and everyone who contributed to our community health and resource fair at Rim High School just a couple weeks ago. Jessica is an exceptional lady who is giving much beyond her schoolwork in order to make a difference in our community. So big, big, big kudos to Jessica Mazekas. And every year we say goodbye to some exceptional people who we met tonight again, we're reminded of tonight. Thank you, Terry, for those who are entering retirement, who get to start a new chapter, a different chapter in their lives. And I just want to say a big thank you to all of those. A cupcake and a plaque isn't enough, and probably thank you is not enough either. But hopefully those times, like those kindergartners who came up and said, "I love you," have somehow inspired every one of those staff who are retiring. They'll have memories like that. I feel a little bit like Tevier from Fiddler on the Roof. On the one hand, we're deficit spending. We got to do something about that. But on the other hand, we have this staff that we need to really bless and help and give more to. So how do you balance that one out? Well, on the one hand, the state did their projections for the income for the year at the worst possible time when tariffs were changing what the stock market was doing. But on the other hand, we expect federal cuts in education, and we don't know what those are going to be. So I'm concerned on both those different levels, and it's like, how do you balance that? How do you balance what our staff needs, and we would wish that we could give them, but balance that with the fact that we're deficit spending in the millions of dollars. Not hundreds, not thousands, but millions. So thank you again, Jenny, for making it all work, but that can't continue. So how do you work through that? I also, on a different note, I've been privileged to be a part of a lot of the inclusion discussions this year. And there's a big celebration, 50 years of SELPA, that's on Friday night. And we were honored, you might remember that some of us got to represent our district in a statewide meeting for SELPA. And thank you, Jen. Thank you, Dr. Sevillano. But I need to say that I have requested a report on the progress that we're making on inclusion throughout the high school. I'd like to see what classes are being listed that are already including students of special needs, and that would include moderate to severe students. I'd like to see that information. And I know that we have been working towards this, and in a lot of ways really are a leader in inclusion. But it would be helpful to see exactly what are those classes that are available. And we have both Brians are here tonight. So, but it would be helpful just to see and know, be able to see the details of what specific classes are actually already open to inclusion, electives and other and things like that. And so where are we in the process of becoming inclusive for all of our students? And I know that we're continuing to work at that at all grade levels, and appreciate the work that SELF has done for us, and appreciate the work that the Inclusion Committee has done. But it would be helpful to see some of that information. I also have to say, thank you, Dr. Sevillano, for the work that you and Jen and others have done so that we can have the dual enrollment opportunities. I'm also pleased, really thrilled. One of the things when I came on the board, I was like, why aren't we doing adult education? And we are getting back into the business, so to speak, of adult education, and that pleases me. And by the way, I want to see more green, or more blue, I should say, on the for LCAP. Thank you, Jen. And And I'm glad that we've been able to do some things, and I appreciate all the work that's been done by our students in the various extracurricular activities. That's not just athletics, but that includes our music and arts. And so thank you to everyone who has worked for a great year. That's all I got.
Thank you, Bill. Jordan, would you be willing to go next, please?
Well, I won't take up too much time. Just want to say congratulations on end of year, making it to summer. Congratulations to all the retirees. I hope everyone has a wonderful summer ahead of them. We'll still be meeting and working throughout, but hopefully everyone gets a good break. We'll continue our advocacy. It'll be very interesting. As Jenny mentioned, we expect that the budget will be adopted on time, but there will be most likely a mid-year revision. So we'll see what that turns into and maybe negotiate some of the trailer language bill, some of the trailer bill language. I'm looking forward. I'll save my advocacy stuff for our advocacy report. So that's where both of my updates are. Wonderful going to the open houses that I can attend. Have a good summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. Cindy? Yes, I made every open house except Mountain. Sorry, Mountain, but enjoyed all of them. It's great to walk the classrooms, and it's great to see teachers that used to teach at Grandview. It makes me sad, but I love it, including Mrs. Armory. Also want to say that Mr. Wilmsey, the valedictorians and salutatorians know who we are, right? Okay, so I just wanted to make
Tuesday will be real interesting.
yeah, I just want to congratulate the Rim High School valedictorians, Shelby Gross and Ava Holtzen, and the salutatorians, Allie Holtzen and Riley Simons. Just that's so much hard work, and I'm really excited, even though Shelby Gross is going to UCLA, now is an enemy of the fight on Trojans, but that's okay. I wish her all the best, and all of them just will have great futures. Also want to give a shout out to Diego Gianna Romero, who's the egalitarian of Mountain High School. I thought that was a really cool word. So congratulations to all the hard work. I do want to give a really huge shout out to Mountain High School to have 31 students, 91% to go from several years ago to a 20% graduation rate. And now this is what we're looking at. That is a huge jump and so not normal for continuation high school. So I love the fact that we have made such a huge jump and just shout outs to the teachers and the staff at Mountain High School. It is truly those connections to students that some are really facing some difficult situations and challenges. And those connections between the teachers and the students and the staff and the students really makes a huge difference. It really does. It's that one-on-one. So I'm really excited about bringing the additional, wellness center component to it. It's going to be super exciting to see. I have sinus issues, and I took sinus medicine a while ago, and it's wearing off. And yeah, I'm feeling really stellar right now. Sorry. I did go to CSBA delegate assembly. Got updates on all these pieces of legislation, but of course that always changes. So we got latest updates just this week on where the bills are. We had policy pillars that we break out into. My policy pillar that I am involved with is improving the conditions of students. So that was an interesting one. It focused on cell phone policy. Didn't realize that there are districts out there that do not have cell phone policy yet. Super interesting. I said that overall we've been super successful. The teachers themselves been so grateful to have a policy to increase student engagement in the classes and reduce behavioral issues. So anyways, I got to report out our success
and our rollout. So that was interesting. I just think I'm gonna leave it there because I'm feeling a little subdued today, right now. So I'm just saying, yeah, I know Dr. Slavion is really happy about that. So anyways, just excited for graduation on Monday, graduation on Tuesday. I love graduation and it makes me feel so warm inside that to know that TK through 12 from Rome, the World Unified High School, Unified School District is embedded in every single kid that's walking across the stage. So makes me proud and happy, almost like a mama. Thanks, Cindy. Scott?
I would like to also thank, seeing the open houses, that the teachers and staff, it's amazing what they do, especially with the lack of funds that we do have. And it's neat to see the hands-on stuff that we're doing every single day in the classrooms. And then congratulate the students for moving on and graduating and everything that they're moving on to. But also I'd like to thank the community and their involvement. It really takes the whole mountain to make things happen in the community. What was it, $153,000 in scholarships to that's just an amazing amount of money. And it just keeps going up and up every single year, it seems. Well, a central thing that I saw happening, and I'm friends with Bill and Michelle, but it's just amazing their involvement with every single school, from Mountain High School to MPH. MPH, I think the students who got perfect attendance, they got 4 season passes, which is amazing. I mean, they're just so giving. So it's amazing to see our community do things like that for our students and our teachers as well, and our staff. I love that. It's going to be neat to see how we can improve upon that and the attendance through getting the community involved a little bit more, because I think attendance is the biggest thing that we can tackle right now to help improve funding for our schools. So I just congratulate everybody and I wish you a great summer. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you, Scott. And then I'll try to make my comments brief as well. Congratulations, everybody, to our very successful school year. Lots of hard work by staff and students and a lot to be proud of. I'm going to revisit some of the things that have been mentioned already. Bill mentioned the Mountain Health and Resource Fair. Do you want to give an added shout out to all of the volunteers who participated? I believe 123 student physicals for athletes were completed on that day, and volunteer medical professionals came to complete that. And I think that's just absolutely phenomenal. Dental screenings, dental exams, habits were given away. And so, and then earlier in the day, Wellness Wednesday occurred and James Steinson organized that. And that was a very successful event. I want to give a shout out to my planking partner, BK. We killed it with even beating some of the students with a planking challenge. And so my abs will continue to remember that. That was fantastic. I wish I attended all the open houses and saw just fantastic, fun, colorful, wonderful things happening in classrooms. Let me see here. Saturday schools, I just want to express appreciation to staff who are coming in and creating very engaging Saturday schools that students are loving, shown by the increasing number of students who are attending. I think this has been our most successful year when it comes to Saturday schools. I think we've really gotten our stuff together there, and great things are happening, and I'm looking forward to next year. Let me see, went and saw Capital Advisors presentation on the May revise for the budget. Something I found a little bit disturbing that was discussed was the potential of there being some funny business with revenue this year, with money being put aside for next year. So, and this was a non-political statement that was just being given in I think a rather unbiased way, that potentially this revenue is being put aside for Newsom, who might be looking at a national, presidential bid. So to be able to make sure that he has money to play with for his last year of being governor before he turns out, we might be looking at less revenue this coming school year, or this year in general, in terms of funding the state, to be able to make sure that there's more money available for the next year. So that was very frustrating to hear. We need the money now. Some additional things, thank you, BW, for sending the spreadsheet earlier today with all sorts of great information regarding courses that are available to students with needs. And then finally, I do want to give a shout out to one of our retirees' daughters. Amber Amalini is a 2019 graduate from RAM, product of K through 12. She has been accepted to medical school, is going to study to become a doctor, probably in neurology. And she is an amazing, amazing individual. She's going to University of Maryland. And just saying that our RIM grads are really doing amazing things out in the world and will continue to. And there's a lot to be proud of there. So as we look at the end of this school year, do realize that your hard work continues to grow and build. And so just expressing my continuation and hope for you to have a restful, wonderful, fantastic summer. Thank you. Going on to number, let me see here, 10.4, Superintendent Dr. Paul Staviano.
Hello, everybody. As we wrap up another remarkable school year, we want to take a moment to celebrate and express our gratitude to our many community partners and businesses whose generosity and collaboration help us make an impact on our students. Throughout the year, we have been fortunate to work alongside dedicated organizations, including RIM Foundation, RIM Family Services, Mountain Counseling, Hearts and Lives, AFTRA, and Rotary Club, and many more. These partners have supported our student well-being, mental health, resources, enrichment activities, and academic achievement. We also want to extend our appreciation to our CTE employers and the various businesses who supported our students, provide real-world and mentorship programs for our students, and paid interns. And thank you, Stephanie Phillips, for your work in that area. Lord has inspired and empowered our next generation of leaders, workers, and thinkers. Special thanks go out to many local restaurants, eateries that collaborate with our schools on fundraising efforts. Your contributions with spirit nights, benefit dinners, and a host of other events really has enhanced our school programs, events, and classroom needs. Together, your partnerships have helped shape a stronger, more connected educational environments. And we recognize that student success is not in isolation. It is a community effort. And we are thankful to every individual and organization that helped us achieve our goals. As we look forward to the next school year, we remain committed to strengthening these partnerships and our relationship and student success. Thank you for your continued support and generosity and belief in our students and our schools. Thank you.
.0 discussion action items. 11.1 superintendent legislative and advocacy report, fiscal impact none. Do I have a motion? Jordan?
Second.
Scott? So let's go ahead and open up that discussion.
Okay, so I sent you guys an update on where some of the bills are from capital advisors. A couple of bills that we've talked about that are concerns AB 65, which is the 14 weeks of fully paid pregnancy related leave. That's on top of what they already have. The cost of this is tremendous, and despite our fiscal environment right now, and how much this would cost, the bill went forward. And I'm sure Shannon's really happy about that. And it just letting you know this is very costly. It's not a judgment on the merit of the bill and the intention of the bill. It's the cost in this kind of an environment. So that's a concern. Then AB 1230, which we're going to be voting on tonight. The bill passed without any amendments, which is unfortunate. This is the one that when a student is expelled, you have to create a rehabilitation plan. Look at Shannon's already tearing his hair out. You have to create a rehabilitation plan for re-entry back into your district. And the student would have to complete the requirements. This would be a meeting with the parent, the student, the district, what resources, put together the resources and making sure that the student has access to those resources to complete the rehabilitation plan. And so the issue is this almost becomes like an IEP for behavior and for reentry from by an expelled student. What happens if somehow all the I's are not dotted and T's crossed? Does this open up districts for liability? It has the potential to do so if you cannot get that rehabilitation plan in place and the student doesn't have the access to the resources. So there's, again, great intentions, but I just see unintended consequences with this bill. And so does Shannon. That's why he tore his hair out, the last of it, right? And the last of it's gone. Then a bill, you guys talk about the LCFF and increasing funding targets. So AB 477 would do that. It would increase the LCFF base grant targets for TK. It's the K through 12 grade spans, all of that. It would be for subsequent years, but also preceding years. Interesting. A lot of money attached to this. And the interesting part is that there would be, it almost becomes categorical the way they're phrasing it, because they want this extra money to go towards a very, 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 very worthy cause of increasing school site staff salaries at school districts, county offices, and COEs. However, it needs to be fully funded. And all of that money needs to go into Prop 98, fully funded, so that you're not stealing from Peter to pay Paul. That's just the whole thing, is that you don't want to be stuck with good intentions, but with unintended consequences. And I think I'm going to just stay there on it. Those are some of the big ones that we were kind of looking at. And you guys have this report already. I sent it to you. Sandax is next Wednesday. And then the next CSBA legislative committee day is the same day as our retreat, but I do get a report. So at the last meeting of the month, I can give the update. Where we'll be heading. Some of the bills have crossed over, like Senator Cho votes SB 745, which is the American Civics, making that a mandatory class. It did cross over. It's in the assembly. There are conversations. I know there's a push, like what I talked about is it's a great idea. Let's embed it in government instead of making it an additional standalone class. Our master schedule is already fully impacted. What are you going to take away from kids? There's that visual and performing arts pathway. Is it their CTE pathway? What is it that's going to come off the table in order to have this happen? Because something has to give in tightly impacted master schedules. That's it.
And Cindy, do we want to discuss anything on the draft advocacy platform?
I thought it was brilliant.
So, first read through, I need to spend more time on it. So far, there was everything in there that I wanted to see. And so I'm very happy. I appreciate you putting the time and effort into it, Jordan.
Are we going to actually vote on that platform at some point in time? Is that going to be part of a workshop discussion?
Part of our retreat.
Okay, then a point of order. We have a motion on the floor. What is that motion? It does not appear to be relevant. There is no
I have a note,
action that we take.
I have a note to myself because we have discussion and we have action items under this. I believe that when we're having a discussion item, we don't need to have the motion, but I'm following the template here. But at the same time, I think for discussion items,
I think
the
the
motion
motion should
should
be
be relevant.
rejected because there's nothing we're taking action on. We're receiving a report, that's appreciated, but we're not taking action on it at this moment.
No need to reject. I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay. Unseconded. So no, I believe with the discussion item, we have no need for that. Point of order taken.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on this item?
I'll just note that, I'll look forward to discussing the platform at a workshop. But,
Yes.
if you have changes or revisions in mind, please, feel free to come with those in, so we can discuss them all.
And I appreciate that we have somebody on the inside of Sandabs and State that's getting us information on things that are coming up. So thank you so much, Cindy.
I don't know if Shannon likes.
She's right here. You guys have this, she's right in the E. Just look for her.
I found you all.
I'll be happy to share mine with you. Okay. Moving ahead to 11.2, Superintendent approval to reopen the RIM Adult Education Program for the 2025-2026 school year. RIM of the World Unified School District was approved for $97,817.00 from the Inland Adult Education Consortium, IAEC, to fund 3 adult education courses of the higher school operations staff. These courses include a diploma-based program course for adults needing a high school diploma, August 2025, an English as a second language course, January 2026, and a CTE Career Technical Education Pharmacy Tech course, August 2026. This will impact $97,817 funding from Inland Adult Education Consortium, IAEC.
So moved.
Bill,
Second.
Scott, discussion. I love the fact that this is not going to impact our general fund whatsoever.
I appreciate the work that's gone into this. I noticed on the list that we are the lowest recipient of the grant funding, but hopefully, we're also the newest, correct, recipient? Hopefully we can continue to grow that and have a successful adult ed program over the years.
Oh. And we got more than we asked for, didn't we, Dr. Zebiano?
That is correct. We just asked for some seed money and they granted us more than that.
Also express appreciation that Dr. Seviano has participated in the county board on adult education, putting himself in a position to be able to bring men's voice to the table there. So again, fantastic. Any more discussion? Calling for the vote. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 11.3 Educational Services approval of the agreement between the California Foundation for History Education, CFHE, and RIM of the World Unified School District, ROWUSD, for financial literacy training during the 2025/2026 school year. Fiscal impact $45,000.00. Budget source educator effectiveness grant. Motion?
So moved.
Scott?
Second.
Jordan? Discussion. So I'm curious, I just want to be able to just clarify as far as the educator effectiveness grants, that there is limited areas in which we can spend this money?
That's correct. And this is coming from the remaining dollars that were set aside for ethnic studies in a similar fund. So we had about 90,000 set aside for a 5-year period. We used 45,000, we've got the remaining 45,000 for financial needs.
I believe we're using the same consultants too, is that?
Yeah.
And then it says it's for financial literacy training.
And so the consultant proposal that you'll see in your board documents indicates the number of days that it starts with a process very similar that we did with ethnic studies. So we'll bring together a committee that's going to include our educational partners, parents, family members, board members, staff members who are going to be teaching the course. And we go through a process of learning the requirements that are set aside, the 13 areas and topics that are required, kind of like with ethnic studies, we looked at the 8 units that were required. And then as we go through that process, there's also the Writing Institute, where the curriculum is developed by our own teachers.
So it goes beyond, it goes beyond training.
And it's multiple days.
Anything else? Calling for the vote, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 11.4 Educational Services, approval of the Proposition 28 Arts and Music Grant for Charles Hoffman, Lake Here Arrowhead, and Valley of Enchantment Elementary Schools, RIM Virtual Academy, Mary Putnam Hank Intermediate, RIM High School, and Mountain High School for the 2025-2026 school year. Fiscal impact, $434,301.00. Budget source, Proposition 28.
So moved.
Bill,
Seconded.
Jordan, discussion?
Just a curious question, really, on the general level. I noticed this amount of funding slightly lower than what we received last year. How does the state calculate Prop 28? Maybe that's a broader question, but I was just curious.
We actually will get an estimate of Prop 28, along with multiple other programs. And that number actually won't be trued up until next April. So it's part of the apportionment summary, which includes some mental health, some Prop 28, ELOP, LCFF. So they start the initial allocation with an estimate based on prior year. And then and then at P1, which is our first attendance reporting, they will kind of true that number up again. We'll get a new apportionment notice, and then at P2, it's trued up again. And then any revisions during closing, so after the year is done, we'll kind of true that number, we'll true that number up again. So it's an estimate based on attendance.
Thank you. And I apologize for not asking this question earlier, but I read through the documentation. I'm not sure I understand how RIM Virtual Academy or Mountains High School are making use of these funds. And I did notice there's something in each of those that even talked about the band auxiliary, and I was trying to understand that as well.
Right.
That's two questions.
Absolutely. So looking at the apportionment that's funded, because they're smaller and it is a portion based on attendance. We looked at a partnership with other sites, right? So RIM High is taking a portion of the Mountain High and the RVA funds to provide sections at the high school that Mountain High School students can attend or RVA students can take advantage of. The same process goes for the elementary schools. So a portion of RVA's funding goes towards the itinerant positions for the elementary school, so that any student that's going to RVA can take advantage of the opportunities that are available at the elementary school. And then the band auxiliary is a support, so it's not quite a booster, but Mr. Holmesy could probably explain that a little bit better. If you want to jump over here. But like that's where you'll see like the band uniforms that we were talking about and some of the instructional resources at the 20% of the total allocation that can afford. So 80% goes to staffing and the 20%, 1% of that being admin processing instructional resources. So the band auxiliary, Mr. Williams can share a little more about.
I didn't know either. This study came to me. She had to explain it all to me. All right, so we have the band. They're the ones that play the instruments, right? They're adding an auxiliary unit where they hold flags, they march with the band, so it will be what we're able to do. And the reason why we're structuring it that way in the Prop 28 funds is we have to show that we're expanding the arts in some way. So Ms. Stebbing, for example, needing her new uniforms, we weren't able to purchase the new uniforms out of Prop 28 because that's an existing program. That's where she did her fundraising campaign. We are purchasing the uniforms for this auxiliary unit, which is the primary cost, which they don't twirl the flags. I learned that. They hold the flags, it's a whole thing. And it adds to their competition and makes enhances the band a little bit. So it'll be an additional unit added on to the band that we already have.
So they're not going to do the flag whirling and stuff that they do?
No, that's a different thing. The auxiliary unit holds and marches and it's part of the formation, as opposed to like a color guard flag that twirls and dances. Two different things.
So twirling's bad.
Twirling's great. We're just not going to have it. Twirling's fantastic. There'll just be no twirling ever.
I'm just confused. It sounded like it was bad. I was like, why is it bad?
Sorry, somebody just holds it.
Correct. Correct. That's a color guard. This is an auxiliary unit to the band, which is an expansion of the arts program, which is why it's under Prop 28.
Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Williamson. And just to clarify the other piece of it, so students at RVA can actually go to, if they're in elementary school, to the local elementary school and participate in a band program, for example, and the same thing with mountains.
Correct. So we have periods 1 and 2. Our VAPA programs are open to the Mountain High School students, which is an expansion of Mountain's VAPA program. And we have the same thing periods 5 and 6 for RDA 9 to 12 students. So beginning of the day and end of the day, they come on campus, they can take the courses at the high school. And that way they have the access to our full complement of VAPA opportunities instead of just the small amount they get from their Prop 28 fund.
And the Prop 28 funds gave us opportunity to practice the support with Mountain in terms of making the periods work to where now we're expanding with CSI, the CTE section as well. So we tested that out, piloted it out with Prop 28, and now it will help us to expand the CTE as well.
Interesting, because that was going to be a question later. So thank you.
That's good.
All right, quick question too, we've got you. I know in our LTAP, we mentioned that we work with our arts organizations on the mountain, like Airhead Arts Association, Mountaintop Springs, that we talk to them continually or regularly about art programs.
We meet with them pretty frequently. In fact, they're up in ed services quite a bit. And there were some different opportunities that they were looking at supporting us with, specifically in elementary. In 4-5, they were looking at supporting us with some additional band support. They were trying to help us find a teacher, and so unfortunately, it didn't quite work out. But they continue to partner with us and provide us opportunities that they're willing to support, like they've done in the past. So we keep that door open and appreciate their ongoing support.
Great, thank you.
Any other further discussion? Calling for a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 11.5, business services, approval of resolution number 24/25-32 regarding the education protection account, fiscal impact budgeted, budget source, total local control funding formula allocation.
So moved.
Bill?
Second.
Oh dear. Scott? Any discussion? Any discussion? Calling for the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 12.0 consent calendar. I do want to note that we do have some edits that were made prior to closed session. So for 12.2, it is not Senate bill, it should read as Assembly bill. For 12.3, it should be Assembly Bill number 772. For 12.5, note that Senate Bill 1315 was already approved by the 23-24 session and was signed by the governor. And I believe that was the extent of the edits that were made to the consent calendar. Okay, so if you want to take a moment, we'll go over and see if you want to have any of them pulled. Pull number 4, please. 4. 4.
It would seem to me that in light of the changes that have taken place with the agenda, and because there are requests for ayes and nays, that it would be helpful to take those 3 and pull all 3 and deal with each one individually.
Okay, 12.2,
2, 3, and 4.
2, 3, and 5.
2, 3, and 5, sorry.
Or sure.
Sure, it's on.
You already pulled 4.
So, yeah, so 2, 3, and 5, they're the additional ones. Any additional ones? Okay, then we'll go ahead and ask for a motion for 12.1, 12.6, 12.7, 12.8, 12.9, 12.10, 12.11, 12.12, 12.13, 12.14, 12.15, 12.16, 12.17, 12.18, 12.19, 12.20, 12.21, 12.22, 12.23, 12.24, 12.25, 12.26, and 12.27.
So moved.
Bill?
Second.
Scott? Any discussion on these? And calling for the vote, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to 13, items removed from the consent calendar, we'll take them in order. First go with item number 2. Do I have a motion? So moved. Cindy? Do I have a second?
Second.
Bill? Okay, so looking at item number 2. Regarding Assembly Bill 1230, public discipline, is there any discussion?
We already talked about it, and look at Shan's head. That's all that needs to be said.
Yeah, we don't want to be going into stuff.
And just to clarify.
We have enough responsibility, or the staff has enough responsibility. We don't have to be trying to monitor that at home as well. All the question.
Then I'm going to go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. For item number 3, do I have a motion? So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
This is the one where a student doing cyberbullying texts and behaviors off campus, not during school hours, still the school district would be responsible for the discipline.
Any further discussion? Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item number 4, do I have a motion? So moved. Cindy?
Second.
Scott, discussion.
Yeah, this one, we were supposed to bring forward opposing SB 745, which was the American Civics, not AB 745, which is the electricity infrastructure. So we never spoke about this bill. I don't know if anybody really wants to move forward with it, but I'm proposing that we pull this from the agenda and then we can reintroduce SB 745 via CHOA vote. Yeah.
Is that a motion?
Yes, so I make a motion to pull this 12.4 from the agenda.
I second the.
Scott, can you second?
Second.
Okay, so in terms of then, any further discussion as far as pulling it?
I was curious about this, I was curious about this reading it, but it seemed tangential to us, underground lines, so, yeah.
Discuss it, so if you, I just, maybe it was me not clarifying very well. So I'm only not responsible for that mistake.
So in terms of voting on the second motion to have this item pulled and to be able to, I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion passes unanimously. And then item number 5, do I have a motion? So moved. Cindy?
Seconded.
Jordan, discussion.
I think this resolution needs some reworking. So I would recommend pulling this and bringing it back at a later date. The item description talks about SB 1315 and the subsequent report from the Small School Districts Association. But the resolution does not mention the small school district report or anything of that sort. It's more framed as we support this bill that's passed. So I would recommend we pull it and retweak the language, bring it back. That would be my recommendation.
Okay. So I make a motion to pull 12.5.
Jordan, did you second that?
Yeah.
Okay, then in that case, let's calling for the vote on the second motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously.
Madam President, just a point of information. When there is a separate motion, it's a new motion. There's not requirement that the previous second person says a second. Anyone can say a second to a new motion. And so when Cindy made a motion to remove, that's a new motion. It wasn't a motion, even a motion at the table doesn't require that. So I think we're trying to fall into a pattern that always says the person who made the second on the original motion has to make the second on the new motion. That's not the case. If you don't understand, I'll repeat myself later.
I understand. I've got lovely rules, Robert's rules at home, so it was something that probably changed. So I will revisit that. So, okay, so thank you for your point of order. Thirteen point zero, governance team future agenda items planning. 14.1, time allotted for the Board of Trustees to request agenda items for future meetings.
Just if we can bring SB 745, the actual bill back. And then when we were setting the agenda for the board retreat, just something that's in the news a lot. And I know that we had a PD day from our fellow Trojan that didn't happen on AI. I was wondering, do we want to have some kind of focus and discussion on AI? It's, you know, what the policy, the challenges, the posts, do we want to have that kind of like board education piece on AI and AI in the classroom and how it can be utilized? Since I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there just because, you know, CSBA created a task force, they made a report, we're seeing it in the news all the time. We went to some workshops at the AEC, and I really wanted to go to the AI presentation by the at the last PD meetings. So I don't know, just throwing it out there.
We are bringing back the AI presenter at the Welcome Back. So
Okay.
that's an opportunity there for everybody.
Okay, great. Then that's fine.
So does that satisfy, do you want to have it as something that we discuss as well?
No, let's do the presentation and then let's kind of gestate and then bring it back for discussion and looking at policy and practice.
Okay.
Practice in the classroom.
Is there anything else?
Well, I just want to make sure that we are doing our advocacy plan at Conwood.
That is something that we have, that we've already agendized, that was something that was already listed.
And it seems like it might be helpful to ensure that we bring it back, because I think there was some value in even speaking towards is it Senate Bill 1315?
Yes.
In speaking towards that, because I think there's still some things that are being developed because of that bill that might be helpful for us to take a position and speak.
The whole thing is that the way that things are working, we want to push for that to be fully realized instead of diluted, because that's kind of what happens. So I agree with you, just making sure that we are in strong favor for action,
Yes.
not just, oh, let's do a study and see what kind of reports we do. No, let's have action to consolidate, because I think that next piece, the action part though, is, you know, kind of tepid in response.
I agree, and that's what I think we should be saying, something, speaking up. And I also think that CSBA ought to be speaking up too.
They are, oh, yeah. Erica, this is Erica. My ears hurt so bad right now that I am, I want to take a pen and just start pushing it in there.
So just for clarification, as far as future agenda items, we're looking at, SD 745, and then also making sure that we have a revised resolution or some sort of something around SD 1315 related to making sure that there's action. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? 15.0, future meeting dates, board retreat, June 20th, 2025, 9 o'clock AM to 4 o'clock PM. 24740 San Luis Way, Crestline, California, 92325. And regular board meeting, June 26th, 2025, 4 o'clock PM closed session, 5:30 PM open session, 24740 San Luis Way, Crestline, California, 92325. And regular board meeting, August 14th, 2025, 4 o'clock PM closed session, 5:30 PM open session, 24740 San Luis Way, Crestline, California, 92325. We do not need to recess to close session. 17.0 adjournment, 17.1 adjourn meeting. Please, God, Cindy moves to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Okay, so, do I have a time? I watched that. Scott, Louisville, 8:29. The meeting was adjourned at, actually, can we go ahead? I have a motion, I have it seconded, calling for a vote.
Aye.
Okay. Aye. Do I have, did you vote? Okay, all opposed? Motion passes unanimously.